I want to welcome all of you to the newest edition of Everything You Want to Know About Film Funding. Today, it's on how to crowdfund your film, and I'm your host, Carol Dean. I'm president of From the Heart Productions, which is bringing you this free webinar. You know, we are a top-rated 29-year-old 501c3 nonprofit supporting filmmakers, and we offer a unique physical sponsorship program, which has helped filmmakers raise millions for their films. And it gives you education on film funding, marketing, and distribution. And most importantly, it allows your donors to get a tax deduction when people give you donations. We have 4 Roy Dean Film Grants each year, and the spring grant closes in 2 days, March 31st. And we also have available our short film grant, which is closing April 29th. And that is also accepting applications. And you can find out more on our website, fromtheheartproductions.com. It's loaded with tons of information from crowdfunding to goal setting. So check out our resources tab on the website because it has lots of educational information that we created for you. And take advantage of our blogs and podcasts with award-winning filmmakers and business people in our industry. You'll find a great podcast there with Stephen Follows that we've had that we really recommend. We've created all these classes to keep you up to date in this ever-changing industry. And our IT specialist is Nahid. Nahid is a board member. He's been with us for years, personal friend, and his second job is taking people on safari. So Nahid, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Carol, and thanks everyone for joining. We're most fortunate to have Stephen Follows. He's the author of How to Crowdfund Your Film, a book From the Heart highly recommends. Stephen is also a researcher for the film industry. Our outline for the class is we have everyone muted and we encourage you to put your question in the chat box. I will monitor and ask Stephen and Carol the questions for you. This class is being recorded and you will get a copy of it mailed to you, and it will be online at fromtheheartproductions.com under blogs. Carol covers a lot of information, so you may need the recording and you will get it in your email by tomorrow. We are honored to have Stephen Follows as our guest. Stephen is an established data researcher in the film industry, whose work has been featured in the New York Times, The Telegraph, The Guardian, Newsweek, The New Statesman, and the IndieWire. He acted as an industry consultant and guest on the BBC Radio 4 series, The Business of Film, which topped the iTunes podcast chart and has consulted for a wide variety of clients, including the Smithsonian in Washington. Stephen has taught at major film schools. His lessons range from established topics from producing at Masters of Arts and Bachelors of Arts level of education, online video and the business of film producing, advanced creative thinking, and the psychology of film producing. He has taught at the National Film and Television School, NYU, and on behalf of the British Film Institute, the BBC, and the British Council. Stephen's script writing has won Virgin Media Shorts, the Reed Film Competition, and International Visual Communication Association Awards. He has been nominated at the British Independent Film Awards and longlisted for the British Academy Film Awards, and has been championed by Mike Newell, James King, Stephen Fry, The Daily Telegraph, and Le Monde. Thank you, Stephen, for joining us.
I'm also British, so I find that deeply uncomfortable.
List of accomplishments over such a short lifetime. Well done. So I have a list of questions and can't wait to get started. I really thank you for writing this brilliant book, How to Crowdfund Your Film. It's a simple title and it's full of very important information. So I always recommend this to anyone who is thinking about crowdfunding. I consider it the very best book on the subject. You went into great detail, Stephen, with every aspect of crowdfunding, and I sincerely thank you. So let's start with why you took so much time to research crowdfunding and write this brilliant book.
Yeah, I mean, having to defend it now makes it sound like I was mad to do it, but I'll take that. And no, I'm teasing. Like, I love it. Basically, I'm a filmmaker myself, and I also enjoy research, and I like understanding how things work, and I like sharing those results because I find it so inspiring to, when you know something and you share it, you've now created more knowledge in the world. And then when filmmakers and creatives and artists then use that knowledge, they then create amazing things. And so what I did here was I looked at all of the crowdfunding film projects that had happened on Kickstarter over a number of years. And it produced, there's 3 or 4 blog articles, which you can find by searching my name and crowdfunding. And then I realized that I couldn't put everything I wanted to into the blog. And also my blog isn't meant to be too instructional. It's not supposed to take you through it. And so when I was approached by a publisher and they said, do you want to turn this into a book so that you can, and I thought, oh, brilliant, I can go through all the details. I can really go through it bit by bit. And so I created it as a book. And it's also a course on Udemy, which I've put on the screen right now. So if you want to read it, some people like to physically hold it, put it on their shelf, flip through it. There's that. But also if you want to just, I don't think you see me, I think you can hear me talking you through it, then by all means go on the course and or free on the blog, you know, whichever your method of learning is. Everyone has a different route, don't they?
Exactly. Well, let's get started with the 5 P's of pre-launch crowdfunding. I thought you outlined them very well.
Thank you. Yes, I think, as I said, sometimes it's about trying to understand how things work for me, and sometimes it's about trying to share what we already know, but in a way that's kind of useful. And so I created just an easy way of knowing the important things, because people often don't know where to start. You know, what's the first point they start with? They know they need the money, they know why they need the money, but they've got to create their campaign. And so what I've put together, so you could start with your pitch. And your pitch, by the way, is not the pitch for your movie. That's something separate. This is the pitch for why people should give you any money. And it might be that the movie is so compelling and interesting that they should give you money for it to be made, but more likely it's going to be your story. You know, why do you want to make this movie? Why are you so passionate about it? What's the barriers that you're facing that you could really do with some help with? And so your pitch might be where you start. But also you might start with a group of audiences. You might say, you know what, there's some kinds of people out there that I know would probably give me money or want to support me. And then you might say to yourself, well, what pitch would work for them? So those 2 things are symbiotic, and I'm sure we'll talk about them more later today. But whether you start with the ask and then you find the people that would be the most effective on, or whether you start with an intended audience or audiences and then think about your what you're going to say to them, that's up to you. But those 2 things are symbiotic. And once you've got them in place, even just sort of a loose idea of, okay, I'm going to say this to these people, then you can think about the next 3 parts of this, which is plan. And we may have time to go through this, we may not, but some of the research I found strongly suggests, in fact shows, that the more time you spend on this, the more likely it is to be successful. This isn't something that you just throw, I mean, you can throw it up overnight, but it's probably not going to be as successful as if you spend a few weeks thinking about it, testing it, getting some feedback, looking at what other people have done. You know, one of the best things about crowdfunding is that they're all public, all the successes, all the failures, you can search for them, find them, reach out to the people. I've found a lot of success in reaching out to filmmakers saying, hey, you did this campaign, can I talk to you about it? And filmmakers are generous people who generally do want to share their journey. So a plan is really important. And then the process of how you build a team and who's going to do what. You know, you can raise money by yourself. There's absolutely nothing to stop you. But it's more likely that if you have a team, you'll be able to raise more and more likely to raise it and be more resilient. And also, to be completely frank, it's kind of tough. You know, if you're running a 30-day campaign, you've got to wake up every morning and engage with people. You've got to respond to people. There'll be problems, complaints. If you have people around you to help, it's just nicer. You know what I mean? And then finally, promote. Filmmakers are not actually marketeers generally. There are, you know, some people are, but generally we kind of want to go away and do it. We want to create the art. We don't really want to shout about ourselves. But when you're raising money, like the massive advantage of crowdfunding is that you get the money for free, and no one owns anything and no one controls anything. But the cost of that, if you will, is that you have to put your time into it. You're converting time into money, which is great because you have time and you don't have money. But a lot of that time is spent on the promotion and talking about it and marketing to people, not just hammering the same people again and again. So you have to get into that mindset, or you have to find someone to join your team, or people to join your team who are more open to that, who love marketing, who want to support you. So yeah, so pitch and people, find those things together. Then you got to think about planning, you got to think about the process of how it works, and then you also got to think about how you're going to promote it and how people are going to hear about it.
So I recommend about 90 days just to get ready to crowdfund. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good rule of thumb. I mean, what I would do is probably use the same rule just because it's neat. People talk about pre-production, which is about twice your shooting period. So if you're shooting for 30 days, you probably want 60 days pre-production, very loosely. And I would say that, yeah, so if you're doing a 30-day campaign, having 90 days of prep would really help. And as I said, it really shows the difference, because it's not just your one page, although your one page is really important, your video and your message. It's also, you could start doing early outreach and get some feedback from people. And there's an old saying, which I really like, which is this: if you ask for money, you get advice. If you ask for advice, you get money. So if you go to somebody with a campaign that's already live and say, hey, can you give me some money? What you might hear is, you know what you should do. Whereas if you go to them 3-4 weeks before and say, hey, I'm going to launch this campaign. It's not live right now. Here's a preview. I'd love your opinion. And if they raise something that's a problem, you can fix it. And if they can't find any problems, they'll probably feel more likely to give you money when it actually launches, because you can go back to them and say, hey, thanks so much for your advice. It was amazing. It was invaluable. Here's the link, just so you can see all the work that you did. And so you definitely get advice, and you'll probably get money too. So that's one of the uses of that early time that you can spend, you know.
That's brilliant. Yes. Asking for money is always hard, but asking for advice really gets you a friend and someone that respects you, because filmmakers are entrepreneurs, and they have to realize that they are a business. There is the business side. Now you're in it when you're crowdfunding. Well, you talked about promoting yourself, and that's really important. So one idea is to have someone on board who really loves to promote, who's great at it. And another, so any other ideas? You mentioned in your book about any publicity that you can get anywhere, even a local newspaper, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we have to think about this. We think about this so carefully for film, and then we throw out a lot of these things that make sense in film for crowdfunding for no reason. So for example, I'm a writer-producer. I love writing and I love producing. I don't want to direct. And when I've done it badly, and I've done it, and it's bothered me, and I've done it slowly, and yet other people just can't imagine writing or don't want to produce. Or you find the thing that you love, and every single part of the process needs to be loved by at least one person. Everything needs to be operated by someone who says, I can't believe I get to do this. And you think about it on a film set, there's someone who loves the costumes, there's someone who loves the makeup, there's someone who likes making tea, and it's not, or coffee. It's not so much they love the drink, they love the opportunity, because they're at the right stage of their career and they're learning and they're meeting people. So everything must be loved by someone. And if you fundamentally don't have love for it, find someone that does. And I don't have love for marketing. I'm terrible with marketing. I don't market my own work. I forget. I don't tweet my own new articles. I'm awful. So if I would crowdfunding, I would absolutely team up or hire someone or ask favors from someone who just can't believe that they get to do the promotion side of things. And trust me, those people exist. They may have to look outside the film industry, but the people who love this, they really do. They just love talking about products. They love talking about opportunities. They like meeting people. It's, you find one of those people and they can't believe they get to work with you because you've done all the work of having this great campaign and you're going to make a film, and all they have to do from their perspective is talk and share, which they love doing. So yeah, find someone who loves the things you hate, and trust me, it'll be so much better than trying to love something you just don't. It's not in your DNA,
Yes, this is great advice. Well, now it's the audience you see. So let's start with how to define your audience. That's number one.
Well, I mean, a lot like in life, you don't need a lot of people to like you. You need a small number of people to love you, right? And so obviously you'd like both, but given the priority. And so it's the same thing here. The number of donors you're actually going to have to your campaign is probably very low. It might be in the tens, maybe in the hundreds, but So you don't need to have a million people walking past and all of them to go, oh, that looks like a good campaign, but not do anything. You just need a small number of people who are either motivated, or you can motivate them to actually go through the effort of putting the money and, you know, the credit card details in. Because think about it, almost nobody who's coming across your site can't afford to give to you. There are people in the world who are struggling with financially, absolutely, and there's far too many of those people. But even those people can give you $5, and not most of those people would not, their quality of life would not fall apart. But it's about psychologically what they want to do, what they feel safe in, whether they want to support you, how else they might use that. So it's not really about the lack of ability, it's a lack of desire. So by defining your audience, you either need to find people who already want the thing that you're promoting, or you can make them want it. And remember, what you're promoting is not your film, it's you. It's your journey, it's the metaphysical. You might be giving people t-shirts, but what they're really doing is joining a community, making something possible, you know, something like that. They're actually doing something that is an emotional journey and about self-identity. And, you know, it's all the emotional reasons why you give. You know, if you're walking past somebody who's having a hard time, whether you reach in your pocket and give them a few bucks or not, you can always afford the few bucks, but you do sometimes and you don't other times. And quite often that's because of the circumstance or because they're how they've made you feel. And so here, it really is about either finding or making a small number of people just confident or excited or motivated enough to tap in those credit card details and give the few bucks that they can definitely afford.
I think you're so spot on when you talk about emotions, because emotions are triggers. I mean, if you think how we talk and connect through our heart chakra, I say, if you touch my heart, I reach for my pocketbook.
Love it. Love it.
But go back to Karen, the bus monitor. That was 10 years ago when she asked for $3,000 to go. Someone asked for $3,000 to take Karen on vacation. She was the bus monitor. And then they took a camera, a hidden camera, into the bus where all the kids were teasing Karen. And we all felt sorry for her. So people started donating. And the next thing you know, she had 100, 200,000. And then the newspapers and the TV stations got a hold of it. And they all said, why are they still donating? And then they told the story, and she ended up with $700,000. They touch your heart. And this, I think, is the key thing. We do want to support our fellow man. Just give us a good reason and an emotional, whatever your reason is, put something emotional in there is what I think.
I couldn't agree more. And, you know, there are big crowdfunding campaigns for things like technology, where they're basically using Indiegogo or Kickstarter as a shop front. But that's not what we're doing. You're not really selling the movie. Even if you're offering t-shirts, you're not becoming the best t-shirt company at the lowest price, because A, that's not what you're doing, and B, you can't afford to do that because people do that for a living. What you're really doing is enrolling people on your journey and giving them a chance to emotionally connect with you and your community and the issues you're dealing with. That's your true product. You may need to send them t-shirts, you may offer them a copy of the film, but really there's something deeper there about your journey. So really, when you're thinking about what you're facing, what you're struggling, what you're trying to overcome, how you're David versus Goliath, that's what you should be spending time on, not so much the third act twist in your feature film that they will get to see in a few years, because if they really want to see it, they can wait until it's on iTunes or Netflix. But if you want them to support you now, above and beyond all reason, you emotionally connect with them, and then they're much more likely to do that.
Yes, and inviting people rather than making an ask. A lot of times people feel really shy about asking for money, but when you invite people to join you on this great journey, this filmmaking journey, it's a totally different energy.
Completely. And I think the most powerful phrase in the English language is join us. I love join us. You know, us is powerful. Join, it's an invitation. It's not a demand, you know, and I think join us on this journey and you can be part of it. And you can be part of our successes. You can, you know, commiserate us when things go wrong, and you can make it possible, and you can be the hero, one of the many heroes of our journey. Like, that's a really powerful idea.
It certainly is. We love that. So here's the thing that I get asked the most. How how do you find your audience? Once you've defined it, then how do you find it?
Well, I mean, we have to think about this in two ways. We have to think, one, theoretically, what kinds of people. We have to really get an idea of, we could use words like audience profile or demographics, but to be honest, it's just getting a sense of who the kinds of people that would support you are. And that's a sort of a theoretical journey. And then there's the practical thing of, okay, so I know I need to reach, mothers in the Midwest who have nostalgia for the 1990s or whatever it would be. How do I reach them? Well, I think there's some things you can do which would help you do some research for free, obviously beyond Googling. That's not going to be my final answer, but there's Googling. But then looking on communities on Reddit, looking on Twitter, but also you can go into Facebook, and they have on the ads platform, you can go in and set up an ad. You don't have to actually launch it. You don't have to pay any money. You may have to link a credit card, but you don't have to pay anything. And you can search for audiences. So you can say how many people are female of this age group in this criteria who have this interest, horse riding or whatever, and it will show you roughly how many. It's not the exact number, and it's not going to give you their email addresses, but it will tell you how big your audience might be. And so you might be able to use that to redefine exactly how you're going to get to people, but also work out, how big that might be. And then think about, this is going back to what you were saying about making sure that you have enough prep time. Because if you do have a couple of months where you're getting your idea together, you're filming your video, you're writing the draft of your page, you can also go into these communities and listen and talk to them. You don't want the first connection you have with these audiences to be, give me some money. You want to listen to them. And quite often, if you go for the big group and the famous person and the powerful person and say, can I have something? They'll say no. They will have 1,000 requests. They won't do anything. But if you go to a smaller community, or you go to someone who's not yet quite, hasn't got that range, but has got credibility within a sector, then you can start doing stuff with them. And then that's who the big guys are looking at. So maybe start, if you want literally a process, go to the ultimate sites that you want to be acknowledged on. So that might be on Reddit, might be on a big Facebook page, it might be on a big news site with your niche. Go read the big stories and look at how they're sourcing them. Where are they getting their leads from? And quite often, especially if it's a big news site, they have to be gathering leads from all over the place. And you'll find that they are generating them from a small number of really connected people, really knowledgeable people. And if you then go to those primary sources, they're probably people, like me, I write about film data. My work is picked up by the New York Times. The New York Times may not pick up the phone to you, but I will. I'm accessible. And if it's genuinely relevant and interesting, I'll talk to you. And I'm sure that's the same in all of your niche or niche areas. So follow that, find where you want to end up. Follow that trail back, and as it gets narrower and narrower and more obscure and fewer people are there, the more approachable those people will be to have a proper conversation. The conversation isn't give me some money, give me access to people that will give me money. It's what do you think of this? Isn't this cool? Can I ask you advice on this? And if you've reached the right people, then they're going to be delighted to hear from you. Just as a piece of personal, I'm interested, I get emails, I must get 20 or 30 emails a week saying, can we publish an article on your site to promote this gambling site? Or it doesn't really matter what it's promoting because I don't do it. And I just ignore them. But if I get an email from someone that says, hey, I'm a filmmaker, I noticed this really interesting thing, or I've got this question for you, or I'll instantly engage with them. And so it's the same thing here. If you've found the communities that are genuinely interested in what you're passionate about, they'll talk to you. And if they're really too big, go follow the trail back up to when they're smaller and smaller, where the big people are getting their sources from.
That's great advice, yes. Because people, if they're interested in that subject matter, they care about you and they want to know what you're making. So they can give you their input, which is great. Whether you use it or not doesn't matter, but you have found a source to help you.
And you can guarantee they'll be giving you interesting things because they will have got their credibility a valid way. And when you go back to someone and say, hey, thanks for that advice, I actually did that thing you said. That sounds great. Or if you go back to them and say, thanks for the advice. In the end, I went a different direction and here's why. But I really appreciate the time that you spent on it. They're much more likely to share your campaign when it goes live and to give you more thoughts. And this is why often filmmakers think of marketing as just shouting loudly at the same people until they give in. Whereas actually, if we think about it as connecting with like-minded people who share our passions, suddenly it feels like a joy rather than a chore.
That's right. That's right. Well, let's talk about perks, because I find that's a key thing. People want to give you money, but when you have a great perk, that's it. That is sort of like closes you. So what ideas do you share on that?
I've got some slides here, which I'm just going to pull up. I prepared a whole load just in case I needed them. And
Okay.
so I now need to sort of jump to the right one. So bear with me for a second while I work out which one to jump to.
Right.
But yeah, so I'll talk. So one of the things I noticed with the campaigns, which was absolutely fascinating, was that the success rate actually changed based on how many rewards you offered. Now, that's not to say you should just offer infinite rewards, but here it is. What it reflects, though, is, first of all, if you only offer one reward, if somebody's on board, and by the way, rewards, perks, different sites use different words. They're interchangeable for this conversation. If you only offer people one thing and they don't want that one thing, they might say, well, I wanted to give you some money, but now I can't. And so there's a point where if you're offering more, you're hitting more audiences. But we can see that although it rises a little bit after, say, 7 or 8, it's not rising by a lot. And if you go into a site that has 32 rewards, you just get lost in the whole thing. So for me, I don't think there's so much a magic number. And I don't think you should just keep offering more and more. But I think you should think about 2 axes. Number one is something for people who want to give you a token amount, $1, $5. People who want to give you a middling amount, $20, $30, and then people who want to give you a crazy amount of money. And then maybe no one does that, but it's nice to have a $1,000 reward on there. You know, we'll make you an executive producer or whatever. It sort of sets the tone, and also somebody might do that. It does happen. So that's one axis. So you want the sort of small, so token, medium, and high. But then across the other axes, what you want is different types of audiences. You might find people who want to watch the film, people who want to support you, people who like horse riding, or people from your town, and make sure that you've got one for all of those people, because you might have 2 or 3 audience groups. You know, there might be people who are like you as a filmmaker. So whatever your gender or your age or your background or your interests are. And you might also find people who are interested in the thing you're into. So you might find that there are different types. You might think of different types of people coming across your site. Make sure each of them has got a way of engaging at a token level, at a middling level, and at a crazy level. And so that might give you, if you've got 2 or 3 audience groups, you may be at 9 different, and it's not a formula, you don't have to do every single one, but just think about every type of person that's coming to your site and whether they have something that they could go, ooh, yeah, that's the right level for me. Because if you only offer people, $100 rewards, you're going to lose a lot of people who would have otherwise supported you at smaller amounts.
Definitely. And the interesting thing is that we found through the analytics that $25 donation gets more clicks than a $20. What is this? Who knows?
You know, it's funny, the psychology, as I said, most people are not giving up. Well, I think almost no one is giving up money they can't afford to give. Everyone can afford that, but it's the psychology of it. You know, are they supporting each other? Are they supporting you? What does it mean to them? And they don't want to feel cheap. They want to feel that they supported you. And one thing I would say actually that I found fascinating was that there were lots of $1 rewards. And when I initially found this, when I was doing the data research, I thought, what a waste of time. $1 reward that you have to put effort into, and maybe that person will give you more. But then when I looked at what they were fascinating. And actually, the $1 reward is very generous, because it sounds like you're being generous. You're saying, look, any type of support we'll take, and we're delighted, and thank you for joining us on the journey. They also give you a chance to be creative. You know, we'll give you a tweet, or we'll name one of the mountains after you. It won't be in the film, but trust me, we'll send you a certificate or whatever. But also, if somebody supports you for $1, and then you come back to them and you say, by the way, thanks for that reward. And then later in the campaign, you say, by the way, as one of our backers, we'd love you to share it wider or whatever. You actually find that people are now emotionally invested, and they're more likely to up the amount, which they can do. So you can remind people 2 days before the end, by the way, your card hasn't been charged yet. Whatever you've given, if you want to change the number, feel free. And also they feel emotionally invested. And then finally, if they only give you $1 and you finish the campaign and you make the film and you thank them, when you have the next campaign, they're going to only remember that they supported you, and they're going to think that they're part of your community, which I guess they are, and they're much more likely to support you again. So really go in there with an open heart. You know, take everything that people will give you with good grace and thanks, and don't give the person that gives you $100 100 times more thanks than the person that gives you $1. Maybe a little bit more attention, but not, you know what I mean? Fundamentally, you should be open to everyone supporting your journey. Right.
You know, I have seen campaigns do very well when they do personal perks. We had a campaign run through us, and the person, they had found someone who could do the cartoon sketches. So you sent your picture and they sent you back a cartoon sketch of yourself, it was $100 reward. And they just hit the mother load with that. People loved it. They just kept donating that. So, that and what that does, according to Jonah Berger from Contagious, is now you're into social currency because people took those pictures, posted them online, and said, I donated to this film, which gives him social currency. And then that drove new people to the filmmaker. So,
yeah. And it proves the creativity of the journey. It's fun. Let's have a think about why, I'll put this on the screen and we can, it's in the book as well, so I won't spend too long on it, but I just wanted to think about like why people would support you at all. And it's anywhere from, on the left, why they want you to succeed. It's all about you. Or they might want to be part of something, it might be about the film, but the project might be about the film. And on the right, it might be a bit more transactional. So that on that, the people on the left are more likely to be your friends and family, and they'll give you money for anything if you ask them, but only once. And the people on the right, people that maybe would be buying from Amazon, let's say, extreme examples. But if you think about what kind of rewards you can offer them, in many cases, it's not really about the rewards. I mean, if it's on the right-hand side and you are competing with Amazon, and let's be honest, you're not going to be able to. The cheapest t-shirt seller is making such a tiny margin that you're not going to be able to do that, really. So I would think about how you can do more things to the left. And that exactly as you just spoke about, the image is not worth $100 in a commercial marketplace, but to have something exclusive, personal, creative, timely, that you can then, like you said, exercise some social capital with and sort of say, look, there's this cool thing that's all about me and how I supported these things, is superb. What a great suggestion.
Yes. And one of the men that did the greatest campaign with us was, he had been in marketing for years. So he did a film about meditating. And then he made a deal with the gentleman from the 70s who made these medallions that you wear to meditate with. So he sold those for a strange number, like $363. And he told the man, I don't have any money. I need, or he told the people, it's going to take me 60 days to get you your gift. I'm not shipping for 60 days. So he got all the orders, took it to the man who made it, but he had the money to pay him, and then he shipped. And he raised $155,000 there. This is
great.
Another way, because see, his audience, he had bought a mailing list, but he knew how to market. So he bought the audience that likes to meditate and likes that kind of thing. So he was going right to the people that were looking for that kind of an award or a reward for the donation. So yes, he had to pay for it, but he still made a lot of money on that campaign.
And people want to follow his journey. I think, if you make it about yourself and you say, look, I'll do this, and this is why I'm doing it, and I'm passionate about it, and this is what I believe about meditating or whatever, that's really inspiring. I mean, certainly the people I support and back are people that I think are doing good work and are working hard or reflect something about myself, or very rarely is it about the film.
Exactly. So now the hardest thing for people to do is to set the goal. I run into the problem where they say to me, well, my budget is $45,000, so I'm going to ask for $45,000. And I don't think that there's any relationship between the amount you can ask for and the budget of your film. I think the amount you can ask for depends on your database and your followers, right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The thing is, people are not really checking over your budget, seeing whether it's appropriate for your film, and then giving a certain percentage they pre-arranged in their head. It's not connected to that at all. For example, when you go and buy a sandwich from somebody, you don't say, how much do you need this week to make sure that you can pay rent? You think about yourself. You say, is that sandwich well priced? Am I hungry? What's the alternative? And so with the rewards, it's not about how much you need, it's how much you can raise. And there has been some fascinating examples. There's a feature film called Alley Cats about messenger couriers. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but their budget was $500,000 to $1 million, something like that. And they raised something like 50,000. I have to apologize, I don't remember the exact numbers, but if you search for Alley Cats and my name, you'll see I did an article about it a number of years ago. But they raised about 50,000 just from crowdfunding. because and they did it specifically for one action chase scene that they wanted in the movie. And they said, look, you're making this scene possible. And the thing is, they raised all the other little bits of money from other places, from soft money and from private investors. And it was a perfect collage because they could never have raised $1 million for their movie. No one could. It would be very hard for them to do that. They didn't have the profile for that. But they could identify something that everyone could tangibly think, well, that would make it better. And also they could then say, well, this has been partially successfully crowdfunded, and then they had a community. And so they worked out how much they think they could raise. And then they went for that amount of money. And I think that was such a smart, clever thing to do. And I did a little interview with them that's, again, on the site, Alley Cats. I'll search for it and put it in the chat before this is over.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just such a creative use. So if you think you need X and you can only raise half of X, raise half of X. Be honest about it. But just find a compelling reason why you need the money. And if it's an action sequence in a film that needs to be pepped up, then that's great. What a great little focus.
Well said. Thank you. Now let's talk about maybe your statistics show what is the percentage of your database of emails who turn into donors? Can you help us there?
Well, that's really tricky because it all depends on the quality of quality of the people sounds horrible. That's not what I meant. The quality of your list, as far as if you have cajoled people onto your email list, or you have really what's a nice way of putting this? If you've incentivized them to do it, like you said, oh, you'll get this free download, or you've told them it'll be incredible, there's a secret coming, then maybe fewer than you'd expect of those people to convert. Whereas if you've earned them slowly over time, if you spent, whether it's months or years, in the space you're in and being honest about who you are and communicating with other people, and you've sort of slowly earned this community, then you can expect a fairly high conversion rate, not like 50%, it still might be in the single digits, but that's fine because you only need, like I said before, a small number of backers and they'll have a huge impact on you. So I think there isn't a magic number and there isn't anything you can just expect off the bat, but you probably have an instinct, not for the exact number, but you know whether you've got a small number of really committed people and you're delivering what they want, or you know whether you're having to sort of, actually, these people are here for a different reason and I shouldn't really be emailing them, or whatever it would be. So I think it is about trying to do, I mean, it's the same as filmmaking, isn't it? You've got to try and do it with passion and honesty and openness, and actually not try and cajole or trick or push people into supporting you. You need to inspire them into doing it. You need to invite them to do it, but you can't, like we said before, join us. But you can't say you must do this or do this and they'll get this amazing thing. It sounds corny maybe, but honesty and passion are the two things that I look for when I'm supporting somebody of any kind. And they're free,
Yes.
like they're free and they work every time,
Passion and honesty are perfect. That's a good combination. I totally agree with you. I always say that you're going to need 6 or 7 emails to send out. So start writing those up front and put some passion in there and tell us some wonderful things that are happening with the film. Every email has to tell us how empowering this campaign has been for you. And that leads us to, even if we donated, we may want to help you again to hit your goal.
Very much so. I think, this is true in life as well, but I would recommend everyone read a little bit or a lot of Brené Brown, bit of vulnerability, not weakness, not self-deprecation. You don't have to say this is terrible, it's all probably not going to work, but you can say, look, this is really nerve-wracking for me. This film means something to me. It's really important. And this is a big deal. And this is the best route I have to it. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure if it'll work, but I'm going to put my heart and soul into it. I'm going to believe in it and I'm going to trust my audience. And hey, can you come join us? That's quite compelling. So yeah, read some Brené Brown about vulnerability and being open with your heart in public.
Yes, be open, put your heart on your sleeve, like they used to say. Now, so the thing is, how do you set your goal? That's the big.
Yeah, it's what I would suggest is that let's assume for a second that you don't have some magic thing that nobody else has. Like, for example, if you're friends with Matt Damon and he'll do something, then everything I'm about to say doesn't apply. But let's assume that you're not, or he's busy on the day you're filming. then I think what you can do is go back to Indiegogo and Kickstarter and whichever sites you're going to have a look at, you're going to use, and have a look at what campaigns have run before. And if you just, I mean, honestly, I would see it as I'm going to make this up, but you choose your number, but let's say 10 hours. You should spend 10 hours, I've made that up, but it sounds about right, over the next 2 or 3 weeks, reading other campaigns, watching the videos. And if the videos are a couple of minutes long, and some don't have videos, so you can just read the text, that's a lot that you'll look at, especially if you're focusing on your sub-genre or niche or audience or whatever it would be. And very quickly, the things that people do wrong will shine out. The things that people do right will shine out. And you can see how much money they've raised. So there's not going to be a magic formula where you need 7% of these to have this much and you can raise this much, but you'll very, very quickly see that everyone who tried to raise above, I'm making this up, but 20 grand, it didn't work for your sub-genre or your area, or people over-raised, and you are the best person to figure this out for your area. And because you care about it, and because you're passionate about it, you'll read more campaigns than anyone else. You'll look at this. It's all free. It's all available. You've got to put the hours in, but that's, you know, you're indirectly being paid for these hours if you think about it, because if you're successful, you'll be raising money. And so spend the time to have a look at what's happened before. And obviously you can have things going back 10 years. And so I would think that the more recent examples are probably more relevant. And, you know, if everyone's been failing recently and it worked 10 years ago, maybe something has shifted, but you'll learn how to do a good campaign and you'll learn what figure to raise seems realistic. And don't be afraid to overreach. You know, it might be that you run 2 campaigns. You know, you might say that we were running a campaign for an action sequence in our movie. Such a great response. We raised 120%. We're now doing another one. There's no shame in that. There's no harm in that. But there is a problem in underraising because you might get nothing, depending on the platform, whether it's all or nothing or not. But also, if you've made a really compelling case that you need $10,000 and you raise 2, in theory, you shouldn't be able to make your film. We know that you can adjust things, but so I would always underraise. I would always set a lower goal, knowing that you're not going to turn money away. And it's nice to people to know you're halfway there, that you've nearly achieved it. And, you know, I wouldn't worry about asking for too little, so long as you've got good, what they call stretch goals. You know, why should we keep giving you money when you've raised 100%? Well, that's a great question, because we can now do 2 sequences. We can have twice as many of these things, or I can use visual effects. Plan for what you'll roll out if you need to. And you can, like you said, you know, you could raise thousands of % of the original amount if you've got the audience. It's not going to put them off, because it's not really about giving you the money that you need. It's about giving you what they want to give you.
And they want to see you hit your goals. So you have to keep sending them emails, keep them informed. Well, let's go to some questions now. Nahid.
Okay, we have some very interesting questions for Stephen. Let me start with the first one. I know, Stephen, you have to go soon. So the first question comes from Tony from Hull Bay Productions in Massachusetts. And I believe, Stephen, you've covered some of this. Question is, would you advise filmmakers like myself hire someone to do the crowdfunding for you, particularly around the promoting part of the process? And who would that person be? Marketing professional, social media? And this question is coming from Tony.
Great question, Tony. I'd say that I would, as a filmmaker and as somebody in your position, I would love for there to be a cheap, easy way of someone else doing the work I'm bad at and don't like. I suspect this isn't one of those things you're going to get away with. You know, as with all things in life, whether it's raising your kids or cleaning your house, you can pay someone else to do it, but I promise you, it will cost you more than you want, and they won't do as good a job as you will. And so I suspect that the best thing you can do is probably find people to support you, definitely. And it might be that you find a senior person who can advise you. It might be a business partner who can come in with you, or it might be people underneath you who can support you. But no one is going to care as much about your film as you. And you need to care a crazy amount for it to happen. And even if you find the perfect person who's doing it for money, it's going to cost you way too much money, which, by the way, you've got to get out of the crowdfunding campaign. So now you've got to raise even more, or you've got to be honest with your donors and say half the money is going to pay, you know, Jeff or Karen or whoever who's doing this for me. And so I personally would love a future where I can outsource some of this stuff, but I suspect it's not that. it's a partnership thing. It's enrolling people or going and getting little bits from lots of people, like crowdfunding is itself. So say to somebody who's very senior, look, you're not going to be able to run my campaign for me. I can't afford that. What I would love is a coffee once a week for the first few weeks while I'm planning all of this. And then I'd love you just to be able to, would you take an email from me every now and then when I have a question? And then you share your journey with them. And they're much more likely to get more involved as it goes on anyway. But you're not giving them the things they don't want, which is obligation, responsibility, you know what I mean, that pressure. And if they love their area and then you've enrolled them in your journey, they'll give you more than they intended to originally. But yeah, I just, as with most things in film, you've got to find someone who really actually loves it for its own sake, or you've got to piecemeal it from multiple places, unfortunately. Oh, and as for where you might find people, I mean, you can Google people, but also if you're looking for people underneath you, Fiverr, people per hour, any of these services, they won't give you advice, but might achieve something. If you think, oh, I need a great image, but I can't create it, then you can outsource it. But you can't outsource the thinking, the leadership, the passion, the entrepreneurship. That's just you, I'm afraid.
Okay, here's another question, Stephen. My campaign is already in full swing. I feel like I'm reaching to the same people every time. I share the link and it's the same people. What are ways I can broaden my audience as someone who's starting and knows pretty much nothing about broadening out my audience? This question comes from Ray Taylor.
Well, Ray, congratulations for getting your campaign up and running and out there. You're in the race now. It's terrifying, but it's happening. It's tricky, isn't it? Because you can't just ask people once politely and then leave them alone, because it takes people a few times to hear about something or to be enrolled on a journey. So you are right to be going back to people multiple times. But you're also right that if you just keep bothering the same people, give me money, give me money, give me money, not only will they not, they'll also get annoyed and you might damage their relationship or lose them as an audience member. So you're right to, it's not that you pick a predefined group of people and hammer them until they give in. So as for broadening your audience, I think if you're really stuck, then reach out to a few of them and say, hey, can I chat to you? And ask them about I mean, it's just tricky when you're actually running the campaign. So this might be something other people can do ahead of the time, but it's to listen to the kind of things that they are interested in. I mean, it's certainly, you could go to your current backers and say, hey, I'm looking for more ideas of how I can reach different people. What was it that you liked about my campaign? Or where else would you suggest? Or, and it might even be that you reach out to some people and say, look, I'm not asking for money. The email could be, I don't need your, no, I don't. I'm not asking you for money in this email. You could say, what I'm asking for is a tweet or an idea or a share. You can enroll them in giving you something other than money, because it might be that they know somebody that would be interested in it. But as I said, ultimately it's going to come down to what their life is like and what their passion is. And there's no one that's going to know that better than them. So reach out to them, talk to them. These are people perhaps who are donors, who are not donors, and just try and understand what they get out of this and where else they might go to get something else. Have they backed another campaign? Did they hear about it through this site? Okay, what is that site? As I said, a lot of this is better done in advance because you can do it more calmly and casually, but at the same time, there's no reason you can't do it when it's live now. So yeah, as how do filmmakers get films made? They just constantly keep trying in all ways. And there's a little bit of truth in that for this, which is you just got to ask everyone, but don't ask them only for money. Ask them for advice, ideas, support. I hope that helps.
Okay, Stephen, I know you have to go in 10 minutes. So here's the last question for you, and the rest I believe Carol can answer because they're directed to Carol. So here's the last question. Can you tell us about a successful marketing campaign?
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy who called Kenny G. I'll Google it and find it. And I think he raised money for a short film called The Body, and it was on Indiegogo. I think he's in Singapore. I hope I got all those details correctly. And I'll be able to find it and follow up with a link, don't worry. And his crowdfunding video was not real, as in like he wasn't trying to trick anybody, but it was a video of him as himself being beaten up by gangsters, and he's raising money for an action thriller. So by the way, he's validating that he's a good filmmaker and the blood looked realistic and all those things. And they're beating him up saying, you owe me the money, you owe me the money. And he goes like, I don't have any money. And they keep beating him up. And then he says, oh, hold on. I can get you the money. What I'll do is I'll tell everyone I'm making a short film. And the thugs say, well, who's going to believe that? And he goes, no, I'm really good at it. And he describes the story, and they're like, well, how are they going to donate? And he goes, well, I'll put a thing on the screen, so it's tongue in cheek. He's not lying to anybody, but he enrolled me in his journey, and he made me think, yeah, what a nice guy. And he proved that he could make the kind of short film he wants to make because he was making it. And I could see him. And I got to say, it was the most creative and inspiring thing I'd seen on those things. And I just really wanted to support him. So if you have a skill, and the storytelling or filmmaking is part of your skill, which I hope it is, use it. But, delight people, really give them a bit of what they're going to get. If you're writing a comedy, make them laugh. If it's a horror film, terrify them. Whatever it is that makes people think, oh my God, this person knows how to make this. And they've made me feel something, as Carol and I were talking about at the beginning, feeling something. I think that's the best way filmmakers can do marketing, is to give people a sample, like they, outside the shop, they give you a little sample and you go in. Give people a sample of how to feel.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. So thank you, Stephen. All of us appreciate your knowledge. We appreciate the book. And we sincerely thank you for spending an hour with us, teaching us how to do crowdfunding.
It's my absolute pleasure. I was just searching for the film, but I will find that one for you. Yeah, it's been my absolute pleasure. I really care passionately about filmmakers. I really hope to help people. If you haven't bought the book, please do leave a nice review on Amazon if it's useful. If you want to look at the course, you can hear me talking about it in much more detail. Or if you don't want to spend any money at all, by all means, go on my site, search Stephen Follows Crowdfunding. I've got a load of articles I've done over the years, and I am happy to help as well. If you've got a question for me, Google it first, because I've just published so much over the years that maybe it's just quicker for you to find it there. But if you can't find the answer, reach out to me, And finally, if you want to know what's going on with my stuff, go to stephenfollows.com and sign up to the free newsletter, because I do lots of research, and it's all shared publicly for free. So you'll get the latest information about what's next.
Thank you so much. I love the information you send out about the averages of films, how many filmmakers go back and make this second film. You've done so much research in our area. Thank you for all that.
No, my pleasure. It's like I said, it may be everyone else's idea of hell, data analysis and stuff. It's my idea of pleasure. And if I can help you make your film, I will. So by always reach out. I've just shared the link to the Indiegogo campaign. I just think that was a great creative use. And if you can be inspired by that, then I think you should be all right.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Steve.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Okay, Carol, so there are a few questions for you. I promised Gina DeAngelis that you will answer them. Gina is asking, hello everyone from Virginia, USA. I do have a question for Carol about whether if someone applies for one grant, if they should also apply for another. For example, if they applied for the Spring Film Grant, if they should also apply for the Short Film Fund, if eligible, or is just one at a time more preferable?
Well, good question, but I would say yes, apply for both. And now the thing of it is, usually, see, we give feedback, and you definitely want to take that feedback. Carol Joyce, my daughter, will go over your material and tell you how to improve it for the next time that you apply to another grant. But these two so close together that if you apply for the Spring Grant and you also want to apply for the Short Grant, send an email to me saying, I need fast feedback on my application. And I will get that for you, because you want to have the best application possible. And this is why you're applying for a grant. And that's why a lot of people come to our grant, because they do get feedback and they take that feedback and come back to us, and then they use it for other grants. So I say, apply for the spring, email me. I think he just put my email in the chat bar, and then I'll give you a fast response on a feedback. We want to wait till all of our judges have seen your material, but for a few people, I could push it through so you could then go into the short film grant with your notes to improve, if you need them, and you may not need them. This is the fail-safe way.
Okay. And then Patricia from San Antonio, Texas, she has a question. Looking to produce a web series and looking for clues about crowdfunding.
Looking to produce a web series. I think that's a great idea. It's a wonderful way to put your talents online and be seen. And I particularly like the film festivals they have for web series. That's great. Carol, my daughter, and I taught at one of those that we had in LA several years. And so, yes, that's a wonderful way. You learn how to make a film. You learn how to work with a small budget and produce a lot of production values online. There's a lot of good things that can happen to you. Keep your budget small and keep your acting and your story superb. That's a secret to that. And the other side of the question, I'm sorry, was?
There's another question, but this one from Patricia was more looking to produce a web series and looking for clues about crowdfunding. She needs help with crowdfunding. And I think you answered that. So there's a... Yeah.
Tell us why you're making it. Let's go back. I want to know why you're making it. Who are you? Why is this your film? Why is it no one else can do it? You really have to do that. Tell me. And if the reason is you want to get into the film industry because this is where you belong, that's okay. Say that. I love it when people say, this film will get me in the film industry. That's what I want to hear.
Okay. And then two more questions from Joanne Williams. My film is just finished and I'm putting it out into the world, but I need help marketing the film to raise the money we still need.
Well, okay, here's an idea. I want you to go to showandtell.film. Keith runs that company, and it is a way to do virtual screenings. Now, you can do a virtual screening to show your film and continue to raise money with it. Maybe you bring on an expert or two, or an actor, or a set designer, or a cinematographer, and share your story with us and make an ask. This is what it's for. It's for virtual screenings, it's to raise money, it's for marketing, all of those things. So consider that as a way to do it. If you have a good mailing list, that's number one. Number two, think about partners. If you go to From the Heart Productions, and then you look on the tab Resources, look under crowdfunding, and then there is a blog there about how to attach partners. What you need are strategic partners who love the content of your film. And you want to call them and attach them. And I've given you how to reach out to strategic partners, what to say, how many times you may have to call. Everything is there for you. But start developing strategic partners because your audience is in their membership. So it is handling them with kid gloves to get them to share their audience with you.
Okay. And Carol, our last question, and we'll finish on time here, from James Schwab. James is asking, we're working on a documentary focused on disaster issues for a professional organization with highly dedicated, enthusiastic crew and leadership. Our question is how to move from that natural audience to a broader public that nevertheless has a huge stake in the subject matter for obvious reasons.
Well, I would say that you, have you got anything to share? Do you have a trailer? Do you have paperwork? Whatever you have to share, start sending that out and say, what appeals to you about this? I'm trying to find my audience. Who do you think is my audience? but you need the whole story. You need to let us read the whole story, because you could have 10 different audiences in your film. And identifying those is number one. And then joining organizations or places online to chat about the issue or that group. Let's say that one of your characters plays tennis, right? And you have the whole tennis world out there could be interested in your film. So who are major tennis organizations and what are they chatting about? And how could you join those organizations? Get online, chat about your project, and create trust and likability, and then tell them about your film. You could expand your audience that way, and you could get into the people who want to see your film and want to help you make it financially.
Okay, those are all the questions we have for today, Carol. Thank you.
Well, great. I just thank all of you for coming. I'm telling you, it's just kind of you. I know that there's so much to know about in making films. You truly are entrepreneurs. You know so much, but the most important thing that I want you to take home with you about crowdfunding is that you can do it. It's been proven. It's been done before. You can do it. It's learning all the tricks, all right? So you want to say, I am great at crowdfunding, all right? I want you to conjure up all of that creative talent that you were born with. Put those talents to work in finding brilliant, creative ideas for personal perks. Then touch our hearts with your words and give us something emotional about you or the film. And then tell us that you are a multi-talented filmmaker and invite us to join you on this incredible journey of filmmaking. And I want you to always remember that faith and fear cannot exist in the same place. So when your fears come up, and believe me, they will, just replace them with unrelenting faith in yourself and unrelenting faith in your film, because you know how talented you are. I want you to be very proud of yourself and your incredible talents. And I really thank Stephen for joining us, and be nice if you send him an email and say thank you. And we'll be back next month with more information on film funding. Thank you very much. And just know how powerful you are as filmmakers and as human beings. Bye for now.